Hey, Tyler.
Ugh. Hey, Piet.
What's going on, dude? How we doing?
We're doing another Monday night. Great start to the week. Um, yeah, we're chilling. How about you?
Good. It was a good day. We got some Monday Night Football coming on. Had a big juicy day of betting yesterday.
Juicy.
Killed it. Killed it. Let's start off with that. Let's go over our little recap of our bets yesterday.
Yeah.
7 out of 8 of the big juicy bets hit for us. So what a start for the boys. What a start. Let's give it up.
Juicy. We need a little Juicy J in a shut up, God.
So we won 7 out of 8. Me personally, I went 5-2. I won the Titans under, but I lost taking the Titans side. And then I also threw in Falcons money line and hit on that. So I ended 5-2. Last week I was 5-1. My only loss last week was Browns money line. It was because I didn't know Deshaun Watson wasn't playing. That came out right before
Yeah.
the game started. So I ended up losing that. Last 2 weeks combined, though, 9-3 for your boy.
It's huge. Huge.
Tyler, how'd you do on your bets yesterday?
Well, the big juicies hit 3 for 3. Overall, even though I tell you guys like, hey, I don't really feel comfortable with this one. I'm going to stay away. I throw something in on it. I always do because you just never know, right? So overall, though, I believe almost even 7-5, 7-5 overall, but 3 for 3 on the juicy bets. So, but yeah, that's all we really are going to pitch to you guys is mostly our juicy bets. The other ones, I had a close loss though, like that Giants Dolphins game. I took Miami minus 12.5, and I took the over on 47.5. Came in at 47 points total, so just missed that one. But yeah, it was solid though. Kind of some unpredictable games there, but overall was good.
Overall, great day.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, New Score Podcast. Follow us on Instagram, New Score Podcast, new underscore score underscore podcast. And also, Tyler, we're on Facebook now. So we got that going.
Shit.
Next, we are in the process as we speak of getting on Spotify.
Yes.
So we're making moves.
Yeah, we're trying. We're out here.
Speaking of making moves, we got a new segment we want to introduce to the people tonight. And that segment is called It's Shagadelic Baby.
Yeah, baby.
So It's Shagadelic Baby is an award, basically, that we want to give out based on performance that we saw, we really liked, we really appreciated. In this case, it was yesterday, NFL Sunday. My It's Shagadelic Baby performance award goes out to Mike Tomlin, TJ Watt, and that Pittsburgh Steelers defense
Yeah.
for putting the team on their back once again. Seems like it's the same thing every single week these last couple of years. Steelers defense, there's not a unit in sports with more pressure to do their job than the Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
Amen.
Like it's the equivalent of a starting pitcher in baseball knowing that his lineup stinks. They're going against an ace. They're not going to get any runs for him. Like it's just you can't make any mistakes. You got to go out there and you got to throw a guy, and that's what the Steelers did. Early in that game, Ravens went up 10-0. They looked really good. Lamar was sharp. He was decisive. He was so accurate, converting third downs, fourth down. It was a third down throw to Andrews. He threw it out, just on the money. They're getting Zay Flowers going. I like that. Odell gets hurt again, but needless to say, it's 10-0. The momentum is all Baltimore at this point in the game. Steelers force a fumble. That defense in Baltimore territory. Of course, the offense only gets a field goal out of it, but they gain a little momentum back, 10-3. Um, before the half, Ravens are deep in Steelers territory, 4th and 2. For some reason, Harbaugh didn't decide to make it a two-possession game. They go for it on 4th and 2. And, of course, Steelers defense steps up, doesn't let the Ravens do anything with it. So that was huge for the Steelers D. And then it's like again and again, every single time that Steelers offense goes out there. I got some stats when it comes to the Steelers offense. Let me get that real quick.
Cannot wait to hear these.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have gone 40 straight games without 400 yards of offense. 40 straight games. We're in 2023 right now. And the Steelers have gone 40 straight games without 400 yards of offense.
That's about 2.5 seasons.
So last year they talked about how bad that offense was, right?
Mm-hmm.
They bring Matt Canada back. For as bad as it was last year they averaged 337 yards a game. Right now, they're averaging 289 yards a game.
Damn.
And they're leading the AFC North right now. They are
Crazy.
leading the AFC North with that offense. And it's simply because of that defense. That defense, unbelievable. What was it? It was 10-8.
Yeah.
Steelers fumbled the punt. And we both had the Steelers plus 4.5 and a big juicy bet. 10-8. Steelers Olszewski fumbles the punt, and immediately we're texting each other, fuck.
Bro, I was sick.
Ravens are getting it, and they're going to score. They're going to at least, go up 5 right there.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens? Joey Porter Jr. picks off Lamar in the end zone. Defense comes up big again.
Huge.
And then finally, Pittsburgh gets something going on offense. I feel like all they have right now is Pickett to Pickens. That's literally they're off. Najee is not running the ball. All they have is Pickens. For some reason, Baltimore had Marlon Humphrey, who was banged up, one-on-one with him, no help, and Pickens burned him for that go-ahead touchdown. And then after that, once you go down to Pittsburgh in that moment, and then that pass rush, like I said, that Steelers defense, that pass rush is going to get to you. We both play Madden. TJ Watt is like, when you're playing Madden against the computer on all Madden, and there'll be a defensive end with the superstar X factor, and he's beating your tackle every time. Like as soon as you get the snap, you have no chance
in the backfield.
And you're like, it's a video game. Like he'll have 5-6 sacks or whatever on you. That's literally TJ Watt though in real life.
He's that
TJ
good.
Watt is that. He's that good that he's in the backfield causing ruckus every time Baltimore was dropping back, and it's scary when he gets going like that. Like I said, once Baltimore went down, they were in trouble.
Yeah.
Let that Steelers defense ate them up. So shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It's Shagadelic, baby.
Love that. Yeah, that fumble on the punt after the safety, to say I was absolutely sick, understatement. I mean, hands over the head, the whole 9, jaw dropped, couldn't pick it up off the floor. So my Shagadelic award is going to go out to none other than Mr. Brees Hall. And for context, on the last podcast before, we were talking about our bets, and we talked about the Broncos-Jets game, one of our most intriguing games of the week, in our opinion. We talked about how bad that Broncos rush defense was, and we're just waiting. They were holding up okay the start of the game, and, the Broncos had the momentum. We're just waiting for that run, just waiting and waiting, and then Bryce Hall breaks it off, 72-yard touchdown run. Finished the day with 177 yards and a touchdown. So, I'm going to keep it short and simple. JETS, Jets. That was a big, juicy bet that also came through. So, Brees Hall, he's Shagadelic, baby.
Shagadelic. Shout out Nate Hackett.
Yes,
He
sir.
loves gold. He loves gold.
I love gold.
All right, well, that was the debut of It's Shagadelic Baby. Now let's move on. We're gonna round this out. We got a lot of notes. We did some work yesterday. I mean, it's what
Homework.
we love to do though.
Yeah.
What we love. So we got some stuff from we pulled from every single game pretty much. Some more than others. Um, I guess let's start off with the Ravens Steelers. Um, Steelers beat the Ravens 17-10. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I just pretty much explained my thoughts on it. That Steelers defense was incredible. They won that game. They continue to win games. I forgot to mention special teams got that block punt for a safety too.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was huge. It's like everybody is.
They're all locked in
So
on the defensive side of the ball.
other than that, I did want to add, like I said, Lamar looked really good early, sharp and decisive. I really like the creativity of Monken, their new OC from Georgia. I thought Lamar, I mean, they're just mixing run and pass beautifully. Those first few drives, they look like when the Ravens are playing good ball,
Hmm.
it literally looks like nobody in the AFC could beat them, including the Chiefs. That's how good they look when they get a good mix of run and pass. I mean, the running backs are always getting hurt, so
Yeah.
that sucks. But like when that offense is moving and then but they just go stagnant and then it'll be like that for like a whole half. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like they'll come out looking amazing, and then next thing you know, like they scored 10 in the first half and they didn't score again the rest of the game. So I mean, credit to that Steelers defense, like I said, but early in that game, I thought Baltimore looked really good. Um, Besides that, I did I did write a note. Harbaugh, what are you doing um, when it's 10-3 and he goes for it, 4th and 2, instead of taking the three there in a game like this
Justin Tucker.
when points are going to be hard to come by? Like, you take
Yeah.
the three there, but it's here and over there. I did put a note. As bad as Kenny Pickett has looked at times, he had a great back shoulder throw to Pickens, um, setting up one of those field goals. So
Yeah.
we'll see if the Steelers, if this can hold up. Like, I don't see him winning the division if the offense stays like this, though. Like, the defense is going to eventually give out, like, putting this much pressure on them. But
Exactly.
what are your thoughts on this game?
Just a couple things, really. Mostly, it's the Ravens are going to be, they're going to be sick when they watch this tape and they go over the game. They're going to be sick. The wide receivers just dropped too many balls for the Ravens. I mean, you mentioned Lamar Jackson looking sharp. He looked sharp majority of the game. I know the most of the second half he was under pressure and um, he for whatever reason couldn't really get out of the pocket to use his legs much. So kudos to that Steelers defense for limiting that. But yeah, Rashad Bateman dropped a deep ball right in the breadbasket. He just didn't extend his arms far enough. When they were down inside the red zone, they had at least two dropped balls for a touchdown. One was Mark Andrews, and then the second was, I believe, Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers had
Bateman. Bateman again.
was it Bateman? Yeah, Zay Flowers had at least I think three drops. I watched that game, and then there was another one where he beat the defense. Lamar dropped it. He threw it up there. I think he put it in a good spot, and then Zay Flowers like tripped over his feet trying to go backwards and fell, and then the ball like missed him by a couple yards. So it's tough luck for the Ravens, honestly. Um, but that was good for us, so I can't complain. But that's my only
Sure.
thoughts on that.
All right, cool. Let's move on to Jaguars, Bills. Jags end up winning 25-20. Sweating the under on this one, but pulled it out. Um,
Yeah, I got a lot
so
on
I have
this
a,
one.
I have a, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say I got a lot to unpack here, especially because it was a standalone game, so it
Hmm.
was it was the only game on at the time.
Yeah,
Um, Got to start out with Matt Milano fractured his leg, so he's going to be out for the season.
It's terrible.
We talked about Trey White last episode, getting Von Miller back, and now they're losing Milano, who's arguably the heart and soul of that defense.
It's tough.
And we just talked about how good that defense was, how good they were playing.
Yeah.
That's really tough to lose him. Um, Same time, I think they'll be all right, the Bills. And the reason I think the Bills are going to be all right is because every Bills game that I can think of uh, that they lose in the end, it's all because they're they're just asking Josh Allen to be Superman and save them every single game. And some games, to the dude's credit, he can. I mean, he puts on the cape and he goes crazy. I mean, he'll have 40 fantasy points for people out there, and he'll go absolutely uh, video game numbers on teams. But that's not going to be real. Let's be real. It's the NFL. It's not going to happen every week.
Mm-hmm.
You have to establish the run game, and it's deja vu with the Bills. Every single year, we're having the same discussion of you need to establish the run game because you're not going to win in the playoffs. We've seen it. You're not going to win in the playoffs if you can't establish that run game and you're asking Josh Allen to do as much as you're asking him to do. I'm going to go over quick. Uh, they're rushing. Damian Harris, 3 carries for 13 yards. Tay Train, Tavius Murray, 2 rushes for 6 yards. James Cook,
Mm.
5 carries for -4 yards. James Cook. And then Josh Allen led the team in rushing, 4 carries for 14 yards. James Cook, 5 carries for -4 yards is really bad. I have that circled on my piece of paper right here. Like, I talked about it a little bit with the Rams, how they weren't going to be able to run the ball on Philly, but you have to at least try. If you can't run the ball, you have to at least try to run it
Have to try.
because you got to protect your quarterback, man.
Yeah.
You got to protect your quarterback. The Jaguars, at one point in that game, they just knew, like, these dudes can't run on us. They got to defend one thing. And the Jags, to their credit, they proved it again, but they proved in the past that, they got a good little formula against Buffalo. Like,
Yeah.
they played them really well when other teams haven't. So Jags defense, shout out Darius Williams, Super Bowl champion. I saw him with a pick. He had a pick 6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Darius Williams, shout out. Um, Another thing I wanted to take away from this game was it just felt like for so long that it was 11-7 for a minute, and I was just waiting for something to happen. It felt like that whole time that the Bills were just gonna make something happen. They were gonna be in this game. They were gonna come back, take the lead, and they were gonna end up winning this. Like, it just kept feeling like that. And later into the game, I kept feeling like that. And eventually, that feeling turned into when the Jags were coming up on third downs. So the Jags were getting these tough third downs, and I saw the same thing every time. Trevor Lawrence handling pressure and finding Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Like, those two, they got some good chemistry right now. I say that because to go against that defense, we were riding the Bills defense last episode. Lawrence looked really good for what he had to deal with, and he's finding Calvin Ridley. He trusts Calvin Ridley. Those two have really good chemistry. I like what I'm seeing because if you add that to what he already has with Kirk from last year and Ingram from last year and ETN, I don't want to forget about ETN. ETN had a great game.
He did.
Like, they got some weapons. Zay Jones.
Good, great catch.
I think that was big for the growth. That was a big game for the growth of Trevor Lawrence.
Mhm.
I was really impressed for him to be able to pull that out. And like I said, shout out that defense. They made it sloppy for Buffalo, particularly in that first half. I think that's all I got. Like I said, the Bills need to find a way. to establish a run game. I mean, I don't know if it's Dorsey, I don't know if it's McDermott, like whatever it is, you got to stop asking Josh to carry the team every single week like
Yeah.
you have been because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
not.
they came out, they were just too stale, you know? They came right out of the books. I think they had two straight three and outs to start after only having four three and outs the entire year. They punted on their first four drives. Um, and at that time, Jacksonville's moving in, moving in. Another guy that I think just kind of kept that offensive live was Christian Kirk at times throughout the game as well. Um, but Lawrence built that chemistry with him last year, so they have that. He's huge for them on third down. But biggest thing, I mean, I know a lot of Bills fans are going to point to the injuries to Milano and their starting D tackle that happened on like the first or second drive. But the Bills have good D line depth. So I don't think that the D tackle is not a huge. It's not like a big injury. They're not going to miss him for a while. At least I don't think. I haven't heard anything on that. But you know they may make a move for some defensive help before the deadline, just because of the loss of both of Trey White and Milano for the year. So they might make a move, but they have good defensive depth in general. So I think they might be okay. The other thing is penalties. I mean, the Bills absolutely killed themselves. They were beating themselves almost the whole game with penalties. So they were the least penalized team coming into the game, and then they ended up having what was it, 9 penalties for no, excuse me, 10 penalties for 100 yards, and that's not even including the declined penalties, that was multiple. So they could have easily had close to 15 penalties for up to 130 yards. So um, call it discipline, call it what you want. They were the least penalized team coming in, and then they pulled that. So, you know, jet lag. I'll call it jet lag for the Buffalo fans. Just not a typical Miami game. And, I really like them at -5.5 going in, and I think I started to realize that about midway through the fourth quarter. It just wasn't going to happen. Buffalo also missed a ton of tackles. I feel like they're usually a sure tackle team, and they were just missing like a bunch of tackles on ETN. Every time ETN touched the ball, he was breaking one or two. But yeah, I mean that's really it. Uh, or actually, I should say, the Bills couldn't really get much pressure on Lawrence either. He typically had a clean pocket for most of the game. I didn't think that getting Cam Robinson back was going to solidify that offensive line, but you know, maybe it's a one game thing. But they look good. That offensive line unit looked like they can keep a clean pocket for Lawrence moving forward. But aside from the penalties, I mean, I think the Bills really just beat themselves yesterday, and I kind of expect them to get right back on the train next week.
Same here. I wouldn't worry too much about it, Bills fans. I mean, it does suck losing Milano, but
Yeah.
it'll be all right. They're a great team,
Yeah.
and they got a great coach. So
Exactly.
that's all I got for that game. Let's move on to Texans Falcons. Falcons beat the
Mm,
Texans at the buzzer.
damn.
Young Wei Koo,
Young Wei Koo.
21-19.
Mm-hmm.
What I got from this game is I thought both offenses started good. There was some good creativity. Texans kicked a field goal the first drive. Falcons scored a touchdown with a Ritter read option. I thought this by far, if we're just talking eye test,
Mm-hmm.
which I like to refer to a lot because I'm not like stats or some there are one thing, but I like the OI test. And for
Yeah.
me, Desmond Ritter looked that was the best game I've seen Desmond Ritter play in the NFL.
Yeah.
I thought he looked um, for the first time. I felt that he looked like he was in command of that offense. Kyle Pitts was finally involved,
Dude.
so we finally had some Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Bijan is incredible. Bijan is so fun to
What a
watch.
stud.
Um, on the other side, CJ Stroud broke the record 177 pass attempts to start a career without an interception. CJ Stroud.
Incredible.
So shout out to him, taking care of the ball. He knows what he's doing out there. He's just very calm, cool, collected.
Yeah.
Um, and seeing CJ Stroud play like this in his fifth start, how comfortable that he looked out there. It has to make like some of these GMs with these second and third year quarterbacks that they're like, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? And then you see CJ Stroud with, it's Houston. Like I said last episode, they won 3 games last year. They're not a great team. Dude's in his fifth start, and he looks like a vet out there. So CJ Stroud is. I'm excited to see what he's going to do in this league.
Yeah.
Falcons fumbled twice in this game. Houston didn't really take advantage. It stayed pretty low scoring. And then Stroud, what I thought had a game-winning drive, touchdown to Schultz. Desmond Ritter, he comes back, he leaves the boys down, and they get a field goal with Younghoe Koo. But he had a great throw to Drake London to set that up.
Great throw.
And I really like Drake London. I really like Kyle Pitts. You draft these guys high. You invested a lot in these dudes. Keep utilizing them because they're only going to make your young quarterback's job easier, and they're going to make him look better. And it's going to be good for. They already have a great run game. I like their offensive line. Bijan, they got 2 backs that are really good in my opinion. So I think if the Falcons can just keep just building, block by block with this offense, progressing Desmond Ritter, and that defense isn't bad either. I think the Falcons can win some games, and they're going to be in it till the end. I think in the NFC South. What do you got on this one?
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much touched on everything. Bijan's a stud. But yeah, the first time, right? Like when you talked about the option run that Ritter had for the touchdown, I kind of like threw my hands up. Bro, I've been waiting for that for weeks. I've been waiting for him to, for them to utilize him down in the red zone, especially down inside the 5-10 yard line to run that option with Bijan or with Algier. Like he's mobile. Utilize his legs down inside the red zone. That's one of the toughest things for red zone defenses to defend is like a that read option down in there. So I've been waiting for that for weeks. I've been waiting for Kyle Pitts to be involved for years. I think that Jonnu Smith is kind of like emerged for them as a tight end. I mean, I'm thinking too, like, what is his role versus Kyle Pitts' role, right? Like, I'm seeing Jonnu Smith get 6 to 8 targets a game over the last 4 games, and Kyle Pitts in that same role would get like 2 or 3 targets. So I'm like, what is it about their roles and how they're utilizing them in the offense that's so different? But at least they came up with something, right? They're getting Pitts more involved. And CJ Stroud, I know a lot of my close buddies know how I feel about Ohio State quarterbacks coming out. And they have not had I mean the best they've had is Justin Fields. Like, and that's kind of saying something. But CJ Stroud is already like leaps above and beyond better than Justin Fields, in my opinion, just from a quarterback standpoint. And
I claim Joe Burrow.
He's half and half. But yeah, I mean that's really it. I think that. Oh, also I'm an idiot. For whatever reason I never take lines on the full, like the whole number, right? I always do 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, right? Because I'm not going to mess around with the push. I messed around with the push and I got pushed. I took Atlanta -2 when I should have done -1.5. So I lost a little bit of money on that. And as soon as it hit, I was like, wow, I'm such an idiot. So that's that, though. That's that. That's all I got on that one.
Cool. Well, I did win Atlanta money line on that, so that was good. I was a little skeptical on that game, so
That was a tough one.
yeah, took a money line just to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we got Saints Patriots. Saints 34, Patriots 0.
Hey, Mac Jones, where are you at?
So the last 2 games now, the New England Patriots have lost by a combined 69 points. 69. Mac Jones gets subbed out for Zappy with 12 minutes left in the game. Second week in a row, Mac Jones has been benched. Honestly, I don't have a ton for this game. I have more to talk about the Patriots as an organization than I do this game and the Saints.
Yeah.
Credit to the Saints. I mean, they did win the game, 34 zip. I do have Derek Carr, best I've seen him as a Saint. I thought he looked pretty good out
100%.
there, especially for his shoulders banged up.
Hmm.
Um, Kamara looked good. Um, Mac Jones started out that game 0 for 4, and then he threw that pick six to start the game. And just like that, you felt like, oh, here we go again.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just going to be one of those days, and it never got better for New England.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing I did write down, I didn't know Jonathan Abram was on the Saints now.
I did. Yeah,
So I wrote that down. We're gonna have to come up with a segment of like, did you know this guy is here?
yeah,
We'll have to get creative with that. But did not know Jonathan Abram was on the Saints. So that was interesting, and that made my notes because this game was just that boring.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It was.
it was bad. Mac Jones ended 12 for 22, 110 yards, two interceptions, and a fumble. One being the pick six, one of those picks. I mean, it's time now to it's time for people now to learn how to separate Bill Belichick, the coach, and Bill Belichick, the GM. That's where I'm at
Yeah.
because nobody can argue Bill Belichick, the coach. If we're talking X's and O's, we're talking schemes. I mean, all everything that a coach does, he's the GOAT. There's no disputing that. He's the best. I don't care if people say, well, he had Brady or whatever. Like, Belichick is that guy. He is him.
Hmm.
Bill Belichick, the GM, though, it's time to have that uncomfortable conversation. And unfortunately, Robert Kraft is going to have to at some point if he wants things to turn around because Bill Belichick, the GM, is that team is not. You see him out there without Judon and Christian Gonzalez, who's a rookie. I will give him credit. That was a good draft pick. I'm going to get into their first round picks these last few years. He hit this year, though. Christian Gonzalez is a good player. Um, but they didn't have him. They didn't have Judon.
Yeah.
And when you take those two guys out, there's just not a lot there for New England. Um,
Yeah.
Mac Jones, we both agree Mac Jones is not a starting quarterback in the NFL,
No.
but it's not all on him. That roster was not put together good. Um, so let me 2012, New England drafted Chandler Jones and Dante Hightower in the first round.
Great picks.
Phenomenal draft. Awesome draft. Since 2012, New England's first round picks. 2013, they didn't have one. 2014, Dominic Easley.
Who?
2015, Malcolm Dominic Easley. 2015, Malcolm Brown, the D tackle, not the running back. 2016 and 2017, they had picks. 2018, they took Isaiah Wynn, who is now on the Dolphins, and they also took Sony Michel, who they later traded, and now he's out of the league. 2019, N'Keal Harry. 2020, no pick. 2021, Mac Jones. 2022, Cole Strange. And then this year, Christian Gonzalez. Great pick. But offensive players, they didn't do anything. And Mac Jones stinks, frankly.
Yeah.
Um, I in free agency too. It's just been like they've spent money the last couple of years. It's just been a weird combination, a weird like mesh. I just feel like it's and you know what it is for so many years in New England they had those pillars. They had Brady, they had Gronk, they had Edelman. They had a couple offensive linemen that were there for years,
Yeah.
And then on defense, you got guys like Hightower, you got guys like Gilmore, J.C. Jackson, McCourty, huge. Those guys are pillars to your organization that you can kind of, if you have those guys, you can build around those guys. And it doesn't matter so much like, I don't want to say if you do bad in the offseason, but either way, you have those guys to depend on, to rely on. And now that all those guys are gone, and we're just seeing like he had a fresh slate, to do what he was going to do with it, and the product is not there. They're not good. They're not a good team. Um, I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. Like, and I do want to add, since Mac Jones uh, punched off Gardner in the privates, we'll say,
Hmm.
since he did that, they've been outscored by 69 points. So
Karma.
karma's a bitch.
Karma's a bitch. Yeah, I mean, uh, the big question, right? That the real question here, like you said, is where do they go? Where do they go from here? I can rant all day about how terrible Mac Jones is, and the reality of it is he's bad, but the offense itself is worse, right? They Now, there's going to be some games this year that the Patriots are going to pull out of their ass, right? They're going to win a few because Bill Belichick's going to get that defense right. They just made the trade for J.C. Jackson. Gonzalez gets healthy. They got something going on in the deep backfield. Judon can be a game wrecker. So their defense is going to win them some games, no doubt. Um, but yeah, I can't see them. I can't see them winning more than maybe 5 this year. 5 or 6 games. I think it's going to be one of the Patriots' worst seasons in a long time. They're going to have to move on from Mac Jones, and I think that Belichick knows that. And there's just no immediate improvement that they can make. And it's not like, as much as I like Zappy as like, you know, Zappy to me is going to end up kind of like that Gardner Minshew, right? Where you can kind of just plug him in and he's gonna try to get the job done as best he can. Now I'd say he's like your poor man's Gardner.
That's disrespect. That's disrespect to Gardner.
I like your poor man's Gardner. You know what I mean? Because I like Zappy more than I like Mac Jones, and but he's
Me
not
too. Me too.
he's not going to be that guy that's going to carry the team into the playoffs, though, right? So he's not a guy who has that ton of potential long term. So it's not like they're gonna bench Mac Jones permanently for Zappy just to get him snaps. Like if they had like a Trey Lance, someone like that, that's just kind of a stash guy, then maybe they can make that move. But they don't. They don't have that right now. Maybe they make a trade. Dude, go get Mike White. Go interdivision. Give the Dolphins a draft pick. Get Mike White. See what you can do. But yeah,
Two things on that. I don't think Miami trades him
probably
because
not.
to his health, you never know with that. They do have Malik Cunningham. I think he's on the practice squad. But anyway, I know what you mean by like a guy that's one of these project high ceiling. Like you
Hmm.
never know. Just let him play. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to make the playoffs. So what do you have to lose? You know what you have
Right.
in Mac Jones. You know what you have in Zappy. I mean, why not? Fuck it.
Right. It's almost like if the Titans were in this situation, they can throw Malik Willis or um, I'm drawing a blank on Will Levis, right? They can
Right.
they can
Yeah.
throw either one of those guys in there because those are like your high ceiling kind of long term prospects, and Tannehill's and he's old now, right? So if the Titans were in that situation, they're not. But that was kind of the point I was making. But yeah, Mac Jones, get it together, brother.
And what? Yeah. While we trash Mac Jones, I do want to add I was one of those guys who said, because of the fact that they hired Patricia and Joe Judge, another questionable move by Belichick, um, to run the offense last year. I was cutting Mac Jones some slack last year because of that. But this year, Bill O'Brien, he knows what he's doing. He's
Hmm.
he's been calling offense in the NFL for a long time and had a lot of success. So I'm not there to defend him anymore. But let's move on to another shit show, and that is the New York Giants losing once again to the Miami Dolphins 31-16. Um, I don't know. This is another game where I didn't really want to watch it, so I don't have too much from it. I did write down Devon A Chain or A Can. I'm not certain how it is. I know that he's electric. He's on two of my fantasy teams. Um, I did write down he can literally score anytime he touches the ball.
I hear,
Like
yeah, I was talking to CJ, dude. He's just fast as fuck. I think it's
he's
H-Han.
so good.
I think it's what I hear the announcers call him is H-Han. So I'm gonna go with H-Han. But yeah, he's fast as fuck. It doesn't even look like he's trying to run. Dude, just and you know what else we talked about too is the amount of success on pitch plays, right? A pitch play I feel like has a negative average, but the Dolphins make it look like the most genius play style. It's just because of how fast they are, of course. But um, yeah, go ahead and continue with what you had on that.
No, that's an elite point right there. You don't see it. You don't see it work for a lot of teams, but Mostert and Achan around that edge, they're so fast, and he's McDaniel schemes everything up so well. I mean, he was under Shanahan. He knows how to build that run game scheme. Those receivers are blocking. Tight ends out there blocking. Like everything is, and then all the guy has to do is run, which he's fast as hell. And I said that when he got drafted. Can't pronounce his name right, but I knew who he was coming out of Texas A&M, and I knew he was the fastest back in the draft. He was just an electric factory. So when I saw that Miami drafted him, I was just like, whew,
Here we go.
wow, wow,
Yeah.
that's going to be special, and it has been. He does apparently have a knee injury. I'm seeing it on ESPN now. So
Oh, jeez.
we'll see what happens with that. I hope he's good because
Yeah.
he's going to be carrying my fantasy team hopefully this year.
He whooped me.
Um, Giants get a pick six. It was the first touchdown that the New York Giants have scored in the first half all season was a pick six
Longest
yesterday.
longest play of the year.
So we're going into week six now,
Ooh.
and their offense has yet to score a touchdown in the first half. Um, I don't. I don't. There's no need for me to trash Daniel Jones any more than I trashed him our last episode. If you didn't see our first episode, check it out. Um, but he ends up leaving the game hurt. 14 to 20, 120 yards. Just absolutely no juice to that offense, and that's pretty much all I got. Dolphins pull it out 31-16.
Yeah, and it's funny. My only thing on Danny Dimes is going to be that it's like the dude can be super efficient every game. He can have you a 70-75 completion percentage, but the dude just doesn't get it done. He doesn't move the offense well enough. It just they're a shit show right now. Um, I'm hoping Saquon can come back and save their offense for the sake of football. Not that I care if the Giants are any good, but for the sake of football, I hope that Barkley can turn something around for their offense. Yeah, I mean Tyrod Taylor came in, or yeah, he came in and moved. He moved the ball. He was moving the needle, and then he got tackled a couple times, and you're just like, okay, yeah, they can't just throw this guy in there because he's too fragile. The dude is just if he
Mhm.
gets tackled one time, it's like when he was on the Chargers, they gave him the cortisone shot and cracked a rib. But yeah, no, it's the Dolphins are really good. The Giants are really bad. Minus 12.5 for that line was kind of it's a lot and it's not easy to jump on those, but I jumped all over 12.5. And I mean the Giants made it interesting, of course. They could have probably kicked the field goal and made it an 11 point or a 12 point game. I think it was 15 at the time. I think it was like 31-16. Was that I think that was the final score because I missed the over by 1 point. They probably could have kicked the field goal with Gano and sent him up or put him down 12.
You would have liked that.
Yeah, I would have loved it. It would have been like that Rams cover all over again. So, but yeah, once again, Giants are really bad. Dolphins are really good. It's going to be the trend.
After the game, I mean, even after the game, it was 12 and a half. I was kind of, I stayed away from this game, but after I'm just like, I felt like an idiot because I was like, this team is, Dolphins are so much better. So
Yeah,
it's like, why wasn't the line 14 and a half, you know?
yeah, they,
So a little bit of a regret there for me, but like we talked about, it was a great day. So
yeah.
not complaining. Moving on through the 1 o'clock games, let's talk about Titans Colts. Colts end up winning 23-16.
What a game.
Richardson gets hurt again.
Mm,
Minshew comes in, saves the day. I had a decent amount on this game. Zach Moss started the game for Indy, and I thought he looked really good out
yeah,
there. They were kind of mixing in Taylor a little bit, not much though.
snap
Um,
count.
but why? Because Zach Moss has been running good.
He
I
has
mean,
been.
obviously he's not Jonathan Taylor's running back, but right now he's running the ball good. That line's blocking for him. He busted a 60-yard touchdown run for the Colts to go up 7-3 early in that game, and he was literally untouched. Tight, nobody on Tennessee's defense touched him, so it was just he shot through the hole and he was gone.
Yeah.
Early in that game, Tannehill's accuracy was god awful, and me betting the Titans, I was like, why did I do this to myself again? Um, Later in the game, finally starts going to D Hop, and you start seeing some progression for the Titans offense. Another thing I'm starting to notice with Tennessee is they're taking the ball out of Tannehill's hands in the red zone. Um, I should have looked it up what their numbers are in the red zone, but it can't be good. They're just credit to the OC because he's doing a good job of coming up with different things. They had a nice little end around Tajay Spears, who had a great game. He's starting to get the ball a good amount behind Derrick Henry. A nice little end around for a touchdown. Derrick Henry throws another ball in the red zone. Came up incomplete, but second week in a row, you see them putting the ball in Henry's hands to throw it instead of their quarterback. I think it tells you a lot um, about
Yeah.
what they think of Tannehill right now. Like I said, though, D Hop is so good. Like there's some of these guys in the league where their catch radius is so elite that you just got to put it in his range and let him make a play on it. Just trust him
Yeah.
because it's better than just checking it down all game. So like I said, his accuracy was bad, but they started getting it going a bit in the second half by finally featuring D Hop, and D Hop ended up having 8 catches for a buck 40 in that game. Um,
Hmm.
didn't really get the run game going. Spears ended up having 10 carries. He ran the ball well, but Derrick Henry only had 13 carries for 43 yards. So I don't know what the stats are on when Derrick Henry doesn't run for 50 yards, but
Can't be good.
I'm I'm betting the Titans don't win very often when that happens. Anthony Richardson looked great early in that game. Um, there was a 3rd and 16 early in that game that he converted, and he just lobbed an absolute dime in between the defense to convert a 3rd and 16 early in that game. I've been really impressed by his accuracy. We all know about the physical tools with him, his mobility, and everything. But I'm thinking accuracy has been a surprise to me, and had to be a pleasant surprise to Shane Steichen and the Colts. But he's got to start protecting himself, and they have to start protecting him because this is the third game now. Excuse me, third game where Richardson has left the game early because of an injury. And where would they be without Gardner Minshew at this point, right? So this is now 2 games that Richardson hasn't been in there, and they ended up pulling out the win thanks to Minshew leading the guys. And I can't say enough about him. Absolutely love the dude since he came in out of Washington State. Just absolute dog, legend, Gardner
Yeah,
Minshew.
he is.
Props to them. Um, Other than that, I did have a note for it was 4th and 1. The Titans had a chance to take the lead late in that game, and they ran a
Yeah.
run out of the shotgun. They gave it to Henry out of the gun, and I did not like that call. I like going for it, obviously, but the call was I was just not a fan of it. I thought you could have had a little more creativity there than just handing him the ball out of the gun. Like if you're gonna run it with Derrick Henry, give him a fullback out there
Line it
and
up.
let him, exactly. I mean, don't go gun where you're spreading them out a little bit with receivers on the field, and is what it is. Ended up losing that one, but um, Colts pull it out and they continue to surprise. Shout out to the Colts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that D Hop was almost my Shagadelic dog of the day. You know what I mean? Um, love D Hop. I get a little shit. I take him in fantasy every chance I get. Uh, I mean, he's proven like he's quarterback proof. The guy can just keep producing no matter who's throwing him the ball. As long as you just give him a shot to catch it, he's going to catch it, right? So most of the time, I mean, he almost had a touchdown in the back of the end zone. I think his right foot was out by a few inches, but he almost had a touchdown to add to that. So huge game for him. Love Richardson and what he's doing. Week one we talked about a couple things, and I said Richardson might be the best quarterback out of this group. And I think that's going to be the race, right? Him and C.J. Stroud out of this class, until Bryce Young can show that he was worth a number one overall pick. But those two right now are, um, they're a few steps ahead of Bryce. I This game was making me a little sick because I took the over on, I think it was 38 and a half. So I think the line or whatever, it was sitting right at the over was sitting right at 36. I had the Colts at +2. I teased them up to +8.5. Um, and the Titans decided not to kick that field goal at the end of the first half. And I was telling CJ, I was like, bro, that might fuck me. I said, that field goal, those 3 points could be huge. And it was all the way up until it wasn't, right? So, um, yeah, I mean, I think the Colts are in good hands. I love Pittman. Alec Pierce is okay. I'd like for them to get a tight end. Mo Alley Cox, right? He went out with that's a tight end who got hurt. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Mo Alley Cox.
They have so many tight ends in Indy.
Yeah, I think it was him. Did we get an
They have
update
so many
on
guys.
Richardson's injury?
I haven't looked into it, to be honest.
I haven't heard anything on it. I'm hoping it's nothing serious, but yeah, that was another good bet
I
though.
know it was his shoulder, that's for sure, and it did
Yeah,
not look good. I know that. I don't know if
no,
there's been an update.
no, and you know what? Moving forward though, next week, hypothetically, let's say Richardson's out, you betters out there, don't shy away from the Colts team. Gardner Minshew knows exactly what he's doing, and he'll probably, not saying that Richardson hasn't done a good job of protecting the ball, but Minshew's not one of those guys who has a whole lot of dumb turnovers. So the Colts are going to be a sneaky option moving forward without Richardson, pending how long he's out.
So I looked it up. Shane Steichen says he is dealing with an AC joint sprain and will miss some time.
Mm,
So Minshew's definitely gonna be in there for him. But
Minshew,
like you said, don't think too much of that. I mean, Minshew's proved time and time again that he can he can go out and get it done for teams. So
yeah,
he's just one of those guys you plug him and play him, and he's gonna figure out he's gonna ball for you. Uh,
plug,
Moving on to
play,
another rookie quarterback.
play.
Talk about Bryce Young and the Panthers losing again to the Lions 42-24. David Montgomery was running all over him early in that game. He has now scored a touchdown in every single game that he's played this year for the Lions. I thought losing Jamal Williams in the offseason was going to be uh, big for that team. I didn't necessarily think Montgomery was an upgrade over Williams, but he's proved me wrong. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the first to admit I did not think Dave Montgomery was this good. And he's good, and he fits that offense well. They got a great change of pace with him and Gibbs. I'd like to see Gibbs get more touches, but they'll get him going eventually. And it's a nice, it's ground and pound, and then a little lightning with Gibbs. So,
Yeah.
um, and on top of that, I mean, Jared Goff looks really good right now. I've always said this about Jared Goff: if you could protect Jared Goff, he's gonna dice up a defense. Like he's that good. He's that accurate. He's that precise. He's that in command. Um, if you protect for Jared Goff, he's going to get it done for you. He's proved that. He's proved that with the Rams. He got us to a Super Bowl. Didn't show up in that Super Bowl, but he got us there.
Yeah.
And he's proved it for the Lions. Like he is a, a huge part of why this team has turned the corner, and they are as good as they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, they just have so many weapons. We mentioned last episode that St. Brown wasn't playing, and it's that offense didn't miss a beat out there. I mean, you got the run game, and then they get Jamison Williams back, get him going. Josh Reynolds, another former Ram, feels like he's scoring a touchdown every game for him. Khalif Raymond's getting involved. Um, Sam Laporta,
Sam
the
Laporta.
rookie tight end, what a stud.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns for him. I'm sure I'm missing a receiver I can't think of right now, but Laporte has been phenomenal for them, and Detroit is an absolute weapon right now offensively. That offensive line is top 3 in the league right now, and their defense is so physical. I
Yeah.
love watching Aiden Hutchinson play football. He loves football so much; it's so fun to watch him get after it every single play. Never takes a play off. I don't know if Gardner Johnson's back yet for them. I think he may still be out.
Yeah.
But either way, that defense is flying around. They're making plays. I thought Carolina, Frank Reich had some good creativity in the early in the game, getting RPO stuff with Bryce Young, getting Laviska Shenault involved a little bit in the run game, little option reverses. I thought there was some creativity early there from Carolina, but they couldn't match up to Detroit. Detroit's that good, and Carolina's it's going to be a work in progress for Carolina.
Yeah.
Um, Lions takeaways I have in caps because they're taking the ball away. They're doing it every single game. That defense is forcing turnovers, and when you force turnovers, you win the turnover margin. You're going to win games. You're just going to not. It, on top of that, their offense is really good. They could beat you in the run game. They could beat you in the pass game. And the Detroit Lions are now sitting at 4-1, and by far look like the best team in that division. They might run away with it. So that's what I got from that game.
Yeah. Definitely think they're going to take that division. I don't see anybody keeping up with them the full length of the season. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, we talked about St. Brown being out, Gibbs was out, and 9.5 was the spread for the Lions, and it just felt like I don't know. It just felt like no matter what the Panthers tried to do, they just couldn't do it until late in the game. I don't know. They had some garbage touchdowns with, I should say, garbage time touchdowns with Bryce Young. But yeah, he just doesn't. I don't know if it's the offensive line, but he just doesn't look super comfortable. From someone who looks like the most comfortable quarterback ever, 1 second into the snap, just how slow he moves his feet, he just looks like he's super comfortable. Uh, he's just not. He's got a ton of pressure. He just doesn't look like he has a whole lot of command of the offense. I thought Miles Sanders was going to be a lot better than he has been so far this year, and I think that's going to be huge for it's huge for any rookie quarterback, right? You get the running game going, it opens up a lot for the passing game, and you run play action off of that. It gives quarterbacks more time to run through their progressions, but they haven't been able to get the run game going, and I think it's not a direct result Bryce Young's piss poor performance, but um, they correlated. So yeah, the Panthers got to, like you said, they're a work in progress. They just got to keep grinding. They'll make it. The Lions are looking like a powerhouse. So they got it on both sides of the ball. They got a top 5 offense, top 5 defense, top 5 offensive line. Like they can make it happen this year. in a not so deep NFC. The top teams, 49ers, Eagles, Lions are probably going to be ranked ahead of the Cowboys. So, they're a top three team in the NFC. I think that's a really good matchup between them and the Eagles. I don't know at this point if they can match up well with the 40. The 49ers are just so fucking good. It's tough, but the Lions are a really good team. I'm happy for them.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Let's get to the 4 o'clock games. Start out with Bengals Cardinals.
Mm.
Bengals went on the road 34-20. Shout out Mark and Sharon, my parents. They were at the game.
Hey, shout out Mark and Sharon. Love them. Can't wait to see him later this
So
month, by the way. I'm out drinking, Mark.
most of my notes, for sure. Most of my notes here are about Joe Burrow because he was the main headline going into this game. He's what we talked about mainly going into this game. And early in this game, I really wanted to pay attention to this game, the Bengals opening drive, and see how Burrow was moving around, how the offense looked, and they they showed out. First opening drive, he looked great. He was moving around. He looked so much healthier out there.
Yeah.
Um, it was crazy. He looked like a different guy yesterday than what it has been. I know it was the Cardinals defense who got beat by Daniel Jones and the Giants early in this year, but going the way we were talking about the Bengals, a week ago or just a few days ago, to see that from Joe Burrow, just him looking healthy out there,
Yeah.
I was really excited to see because we want the NFL to be as entertaining as possible,
Yep.
and Joe Burrow being healthy makes the NFL, that much better.
Yeah.
Having the Bengals in that AFC North makes it that much more entertaining. So wrote down, look sharp, opening drive, touchdown to Jamar. First time Jamar scored a touchdown this year. Ended up with 3.
Mm.
Jump out to a 10-0 lead. Um, Dobbs eventually answers with a touchdown. Hollywood Brown, who's looked good for them this year, made it 10-7. And then Bengals offense started to slow down a little bit. Cardinals took the lead in that game with a touchdown to Ertz, made it 14-10 Arizona. And it was 14-10. Cincinnati was on the goal line and gave it to Mixon. Mixon got stuffed at the goal line. And I thought that was huge play for the momentum because it's 14-10 Arizona and they just stuffed him on 4th and goal. So I was thinking, uh-oh, for Cincinnati. And then Arizona turns around. Dobbs throws the pick 6 to Cam Taylor-Britt. And after that, the Bengals, they took off with it, really. After that pick 6, it was really no denying that the Bengals were going to win that game. They open up the second half. Burrow throws a dime, 65-yard dot to Jamar Chase, made it 24-14. Ended up with his 3rd touchdown later in that game, and they finished out winning 31-20. So the Bengals now move to 2-3. 2-3.
Yep.
And let's be real, the Steelers are leading that division. We already talked about them, how their struggles on offense. Are they going to be able to hold up? How inconsistent the Ravens have been. Honestly, you don't really know what you're going to get with Cleveland week in and week out. The defense looks great, yeah, but what are we going to get? What can we expect from that offense going forward, especially with how they have to go without Chubb now? I think, people were talking about the Bengals being dead a week ago. I feel good. If I'm a Bengals fan right now, I'm feeling good because QB1 looked healthy out there. He's getting Jamar Chase the ball. Defense still has some things to work on, I think, especially in that secondary. But getting that pick 6 was huge for the momentum of that game. I'm going to talk a lot on this podcast about momentum in the NFL. and how, I mean, it takes one or two plays really make the difference in a game where, hey, if that play doesn't happen, we have a different result. And I think for the momentum of that game, that was that pick six after that fourth and goal stop, getting that pick six was huge, and Bengals ran with it. So credit to them, they are back in the win column, and I mean they're right in the thick of it in the AFC North.
Yeah, Joe Burrow passed the eye test. He's had some games where on paper he really hasn't looked good on paper either all year, but he passed the eye test. Like you mentioned, he just looked like he was finally healthy. Um, just the way he was able to move around in the pocket, it, I'm happy. I'm happy for Joe Burrow. It's good for the NFL. The Bengals being good, Joe Burrow being good and healthy is good for the NFL. We need that. We want that. Um, but yeah, that touched. I mean, I took the Cardinals at plus 14 and a half. I debated teasing it, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, are the Bengals really going to beat the Cardinals right now the way they're playing by 20? So I was like, let me stick with the 14 and a half and then just take the over because I didn't see the defenses holding up on either end. And yeah, no, the Bengals proved me wrong. Their offense finally clicked. It's funny what happens when you get Jamar Chase involved. And that pick six, like you mentioned, was fucking ginormous. I mean, you're talking about, from a bettor's perspective, you're giving 14 and a half points. You're up four. You stop them on the goal line. 2-minute drill to try to drive 50, 60 yards to get in a field goal range and take a 7-point lead. And then first pass throws the pick six. And you're just like, fuck. So,
Mhm.
but I think the Cardinals did do what I thought they would do early, run the ball, and
James Conner got hurt too.
yeah, and that was huge for that. And second half, once all that started happening, I kind of turned my attention mostly to the Jets Broncos and the Chiefs Vikings game. So I ended up not really paying much attention to that second half. I just you felt that the Bengals just had it on lock, and they did. So yeah, huge huge game for them and Joe Burrow. I'm happy to see him healthy.
All right, moving on. Speaking of that Chiefs Vikings game, let's get to that. Chiefs pull it off on the road, 27-20. TYG. He got the Chiefs at, was it minus three and a
Yes,
half?
sir.
And he took the over
Yep.
and hit on both. So barely hit that over, but we got
We
it
got it.
for a big juicy bet.
Yep.
Um, Started out this game, the Vikings continue to shoot themselves in the foot right off. I mean, going into this game, the Minnesota Vikings had 7 fumbles lost on the season. And what do you know? The very first play of the game, have a nice little first down completion to the tight end Josh Oliver, and he fumbles it. Chiefs get it, and it winds up being a Pacheco touchdown. Just like that, Chiefs are up 7-0, and you just can't make this shit up with the Vikings. Like, and it's not even just Madison or Cousins getting sacked. It's like now the tight ends fumbling. It's just like they continue to shoot themselves in the foot. But credit to them, they hung with Kansas City in the first half. I looked at the statistics from that first half, and it was very even,
Yeah.
very even. The Vikings defense, that was by far the best I've seen them play this year.
Oh yeah.
With it being Mahomes, they did lose Kelsey for a bit. He got hurt, and it just feels like the air was just getting sucked out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That being the Chiefs. And you thought like, hey, this might. It's obviously got to concern them. It did not look good. He threw his helmet. He was pretty pissed, and I was pissed seeing him go down too. And shout out, by the way, to the two. There were two chicks in Vikings number 89 jerseys with Swifty on the back of them.
Goodness.
I'm not sure they realized that Travis Kelsey plays for the other team, the Chiefs, and his number is actually 87. But that's besides the point.
A, A
Anyways,
for effort.
yeah. You talked about the Chiefs' defense and how they were being overlooked, and they really are. They're being overlooked. I thought they showed up again yesterday.
Yeah,
Justin Jefferson was really a non-factor. Like Justin Jefferson, you pretty much guarantee that he's going for 100 yards, but they did a great job of taking him out of the game. Ends up hurting his hamstring later in the game, but leading up to that point, he was a non-factor.
yeah,
So great job by Spags in that defense, taking JJ out of the game. One thing I want to talk about was just the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. Because as I was talking in the last game, we were talking about momentum in football and how it's so important. So I'm going to give you. So it was very, like I said, very even game. Minnesota's hanging with them. Chiefs don't have Kelsey. They don't really have anything clicking. Um, it's 3rd and 16. They're backed up in their own, I think,
yeah.
inside their own 10. It's 3rd and 16. The momentum is just all Minnesota. And I mean, you're just waiting for it. Like, they're going to get the ball short field. They're going to go up. 3rd and 16, backed up. It's just all momentum Vikings. Kelsey comes jogging out of the locker room, and you kind of feel a little jolt. At the same time, this play is about to go down, and that's besides the point. It's not like Mahomes saw the dude coming out of the tunnel, but what's this dude do? But he converts it. He converts this 3rd and 16 backed up in his own territory when he's got. I mean, his guy's not even out there, um, and we can both agree that there hasn't really been that guy for Kansas City to consistently step up
No,
after Kelsey.
right.
It just hasn't been there. It's been cheap. It's been Mahomes just kind of doing what he has to do, getting it to whoever he can.
Yeah,
And what's he do? He comes up, converts, throws a great ball to Justin Watson to convert that. And it's like I circled that play in the game because I was like, that is so big.
hmm,
Like we talk about elevating your team, we talk about carrying your team. As I went on in that rant about Daniel Jones, which he fails to do. Um, Mahomes on the other end, this dude just continues to show up in that moment and lead his team. And I had to make a note of that. That drive where they were backed up resulted in a touchdown to Rashee Rice. Maybe he could be that second guy. That'd be nice for them to see going forward. That made it 2013. Um, and then later, Kelsey's back in the game, scores a tutty, make it 27-13. And then Madison scored a touchdown late in that game. But I mean, the Chiefs were going to run away with that. Um, I just felt like that momentum swing was too much, and for them to turn that drive into a touchdown, they weren't looking back from that. And Mahomes he's incredible. He continues to do it. So 27-20 Chiefs.
yeah. I mean, Mahomes obviously is that guy. I mean, Kirky is. I mean, he's got guts. Say what you want about Kirk Cousins, but that guy has got some. He's got some balls. So he, as you mentioned, they were 27-13. The Vikings are trying to make this a game. They drive down. It's like a 4th and 6, and he puts a pretty good ball out there to, I think it was Jordan Addison, and I think Addison was wide open anyways. But either way, he found them, and then they end up going down and getting the score. But it's like, I don't know what to say about their offensive line. They're going down very last drive of the game, trying to tie it. Just let Kirk Cousins throw the ball up, and he can't even get it off. The dude gets sacked on the last play of the game. Can't even get the ball up. But he shows guts. So I like Kirk. With a healthy Justin Jefferson, I like their offense. I'm not a huge fan of Madison. He Madison runs hard. He's a hard runner. He can make some plays where you're like, holy shit, what a run. But for whatever reason, I just feel like we always see those games where it's like 17 carries for 42 yards or, 11 carries for 35, not much in the receiving game. And, you know, I think they thought he was going to be able to carry the load. We're getting, letting Dalvin Cook walk, and I just don't know if that's the case. And maybe um, you know, maybe they get it going with him. I don't think he's bad. I think he can right the ship, but I think their offense will be fine. Their defense is just so bad that it's going to be hard for them to stay in a lot of games. Um, but yeah, I mean, aside from that, I thought that the Chiefs this offseason were going to be the team that went and got Hopkins, and I thought that was going to be huge for them, and they just didn't. They passed on him, and I think you're kind of seeing like their offense struggle just a little bit at times because aside from Kelsey, now that he's banged up, like who's their go-to guy? It ain't Valdez Scantling. This Rice kid who's a rookie, it could be him. Kadarius Toney, he's hit and miss. He looks electrifying on some plays, but most of the time he's kind of just disappears. So definitely sweat that over out. But yeah, that was another juicy bet that hit. So yeah, I can't complain.
Moving on, we'll see. Well, I do want to add, they do have Cam Akers. We'll see if they get him involved a little more. But I mean,
That's true.
it might be a little too late for Minnesota. Who knows?
Hmm.
Um, but we'll get on to the next one. Jets Broncos. Absolutely loved the Jets money line in this game. We both didn't understand why they were 2.5 point dogs at Denver, but we saw it. We ran with it.
Yeah.
I mean, 31-21 Jets. Nate Hackett revenge game. Hell yeah. Good for him.
Yeah,
Like we said, he
baby.
loves gold. Finally get Brees Hall going, as you mentioned earlier. I said it. If you got him on your fantasy team, make sure he's in your starting lineup because he's going to run all over Denver,
Hmm.
and he did. I thought Russ looked pretty mobile
Yeah.
in that game. I thought Russ looked pretty good for the most part, and I was like, damn, the Jets defense did not show up today. Early in that game, I thought Denver was gonna really pull away there for a second. I was getting worried, but that run, like I said, the Jets established that run game, and they got to him. Defense um, showed up late in that game. Um, Brees Hall broke that 70-yard run to make it 15-13. Jets muffed a punt to set Denver up, and then Denver gave it right back. So that was
Yep.
huge. That was huge. Um, Last thing I wrote down was I thought late in that game there were some third downs where Zach Wilson had to make a play, and kudos because he did.
Yeah.
He made the right read. He got rid of the ball. Conklin showed up really big for them. Um, Dude runs like a freaking beast when he gets the ball. Um, but credit to Zach Wilson. He got it. I mean, he got it done. He didn't have to do much, but he got it done. Jets went on the road, 31-21.
Yeah, we talked about week to week. You never really know how some of these non-established quarterbacks are going to look. Zach Wilson looked great last week, and then this week, to start the game, you're like, oh shit, here we go, another Zach Wilson dud. But the game in the NFL it's about inches, but it's also about adjustments, right? And early Broncos look good. They're shutting the Jets. They're shutting the Jets down. Their run defense didn't look as horrid early on, and then Russell Wilson looked good. And to Russell Wilson's credit, he's looked pretty good all year. I think he's bought into Sean Payton's system, and they're playing well, and he's got the weapons around him to succeed. I think he's got some real good receivers, but their defense is awful, and they showed it. They came back to reality, gave up 170 yards on the ground to Brees Hall, and I think that this is also big for fantasy implications to finally see, you know, who's the dog, right? Who's the main guy in that Jets backfield? And coming into the year, we suspected it was going to be Brees Hall. Coming back from the injury, you thought, okay, maybe not. They go out and get Dalvin Cook, so maybe they plan to do a split backfield. But I'm not seeing much out of Cook so far this year, and I don't know if it's by design and they're just trying to, maybe put him on a snap count and let him get comfortable in the offense. But I'm not seeing much from him, and I don't know if they plan on doing anything different with the backfield. But Brees Hall is a stud, and if you have him, he's pretty much a must play every week in that offense. That's going to be a run first offense.
He's Shagadelic, baby.
Yeah, baby.
All right. Capping off is going to be both our teams took the L yesterday. We'll start out with the Rams. Eagles. Eagles win 23-14. As I said last episode, there were some things I was concerned with going into this game. Eagles opening drive punched us right in the mouth. Um, Something needs to be said about Dallas Goedert as a tight end in this league because he is legit with the ball in his hands. I was just talking about Conklin and the way he runs. Goddard is a beast out there with the ball in his hands, and he continues to be that reliable target for Jalen. If AJ or Devontae or guarding the outside, he's got Goddard to depend on, and uh, they punched us right in that mouth, and right in the mouth, opening drive. But Stafford bounces back. Cooper Kupp is
He's
back.
back.
Cooper Kupp was lighting it up in that first half.
Cool.
I wasn't sure if there was going to be a snap count with him earlier, um, or a pitch count, as we say. There really wasn't early. He was out there. I mean, Stafford was getting the ball to him. He was getting open. He looked really good running with the ball in his hands after the catch. He was still getting Puka involved, and we answered. O line held up that first drive, and McVay schemed up that first drive brilliantly. We tied it up 7-7 to a touchdown to Tutu Atwell. We also converted a fourth down on that drive, and McVay obviously we're already down 7-0. Sirianni being as aggressive as he is, McVay knew he had to go for it, and we pulled it off. And I was I was pretty hype after that first drive because I was like, Cooper Cup looks really good right now, and the O line is holding up. Fortunately, that didn't pan out the rest of the game. I also wrote down Rams D was holding up relatively well early in that game. I just thought I thought we were hanging on by a thread for so long, dealing with those weapons. AJ Brown is so good. We've seen it for 2 weeks in a row now. AJ Brown is an absolute beast. For Jalen, he's tough to stop. And then if you do want to stop him, to have to worry about Devontae Smith and then Goddard and then these backs and then Jalen in the RPO game, it's so tough. And our defense is so young, and we were just outmatched. I thought we did a great job early in that game. Raheem Morris really had those guys flying around. He was calling a great game early, trying to take away the big plays. But eventually, Phillies, they're going to make the big plays, and they did. So credit to them. Elite throw to Puka for a touchdown to make it 14-10 Rams, though. Absolute dime. Puka beat Bradbury on the play in the end zone, little go route. I was like, oh my God, we're going to go into this halftime with a lead.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, 26 seconds. This is the difference in the game. Talk about a couple plays making the difference in a game. It's before halftime, the Eagles have 26 seconds in their own territory, and they throw it in route to AJ, catches it one-handed, and runs forever. Plus, we get a horse collar on top of it, setting them up. Later, they throw it in the end zone, pass interference call, setting up on the 1. 2 seconds left. They tush push it in the end zone, scoring a touchdown, take the lead right before the half. And I was like, that play to AJ Brown that put it. They were in their own territory. You're playing like at that point in the game as a play caller, you want to take your shot if it's there, but mostly you're going to be conservative because you don't want to make a mistake right before half, putting the other team, in position to kick a field goal or whatever. Um, so that was huge for the Eagles to get that chunk play, and then they get the interference, and then to score before half. I just felt like right then and there, I was like, "Fuck," you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to be. Like that's going to be tough to come back from, and it was. That was the difference. We never recovered from that. Um, they stole a touchdown right before half. So first drive of the second half, I immediately wrote down Rams protection. It's not holding up like it was in the first half, and I was like, oh, here we go. We bailed on the run game. To McVay's credit, he did scheme up some screen plays for Kyron Williams, but they weren't doing anything with it. Everything was tackle for loss. That Eagles defense was just flying around. They're really good. Um, so it was tough on the Rams in the second half. I got a ton of notes on this. I apologize. Dallas Goddard wrote him down again. Just continued to kill us in that second half. We were about to be out of that game, and then they throw it up to AJ in the end zone, a little short, and Kilo Witherspoon for us, cornerback, makes a great play, picks it off in the end zone, give us a little life, but we just couldn't get it going. I mean, protection wasn't holding up. You didn't see Cooper Kupp second half like you did in the first half. Credit to that Eagles secondary. They made their adjustments. They did
Yeah.
what they had to do. Um, and you can't go down multiple possessions to the Eagles because once that happens, then they know you're throwing it with a bad offensive line or whatever. It doesn't matter because they're going to get after you. And we had no chance at that point in the game going down two possessions with that pass rush coming in. So that was the end of the game. DeAndre Swift, though, before that, there's a 3rd and 4 on the 35 where it's like if we stop them, they may have to kick a field goal here. They might go for it. We get the ball back, perhaps. Um, DeAndre Swift broke one on that 3rd and 4, setting them up, and then you knew the game was over after that. DeAndre Swift is really good. I don't think people realize how quick, how shifty, how just good of a running back DeAndre Swift is. Because Detroit kind of just like threw him away, and we're like, all right, here you can have him, Philly.
There you go.
Uh, but the fact of the matter is, he just hasn't been healthy in his career. But he's a great back, and the fact that you have him, then you have Gainwell, and then they don't even give the ball to Penny,
Mm-mm.
but they have him if they need him. They have Boston Scott if they need him, the giant killer. It's like you can give this guy, you could play him as much as you don't have to. You don't have to strain DeAndre Swift. You don't have to stress his carry count or anything because of how good, how deep that offense is, how good that offensive line is, how great of a leader Jalen Hurts is. That I don't think I'll get to the 49ers. I don't think the Eagles are on that level right now with the 49ers, but something needs to be said about the fact that I still think they are so much better than what they put out so far, and we haven't seen the best of the Eagles yet this year, and that's a little scary how good they can be down the stretch. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah. Uh, the Eagles just showed that they are who people think
One
they
more
are.
thing.
Yeah.
One more thing. I just want to address the tush push because it's very controversial.
Yeah.
Um, and if anybody has the right to talk about the tush push, like being pissed about it, as I said, that touchdown they stole before the end of the first half, and they ran it multiple other times in the game where they were beating us with it. Like that play was a big part of that game yesterday. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, they know how to do it. They have a good scheme for it. It is not an illegal play. It is not an illegal football play. And just because they don't fail at it or they have 92%, whatever it is, just because you can't stop it doesn't make it illegal. We see all these other teams in the league trying to um, copy what they do, and they're not successful at it like Philly is. So I just want to say, as a guy that I got beat by a tush push yesterday. I'm still not bitching, complaining about it. Like it's a legal football play, so quit your whining. Go ahead.
Yeah, they don't get that touchdown at the end of the first half on the tush push. We cover the Rams spread. The Rams stay undefeated against the spread, but that didn't happen. So, um, yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts is he he's so much quicker and faster than perceived on the field. Like when you watch him, he just looks like he's sometimes going in slow motion, but the dude is shifty. He's quick. Like they ran a quarterback draw early in the game on 3rd and 9. The Eagles like to do this, teams in general, but the Eagles especially, whenever it's third and third mid, like 3rd 5, 3rd and 6 or longer, in their past midfield, they like to do the setup, right? Get 4, 5, 6 yards, set yourself up with a 4th and short, and then either tush push or run something with Jalen Hurts. They run a quarterback draw on 3rd and 9, and he gets like 15, and from there, and then he had another run outside where I thought he almost hyperextended his knee. I don't know if you remember that play, but he ran to the outside and he got another like 20-yard run. The Eagles' offense is just hard to stop. Um, they got DeAndre Swift for peanuts, and he's been huge for their offense, and hopefully he can stay healthy for them. But they're tough, man. They're tough. Cooper Kupp looked good. Cooper Kupp looked real good coming out with the hammy, and I think that they were that close to like connecting on some real big throws down the field, but that chemistry right now with Stafford and Kupp just needed another week or two, and then they're going to make the connection on those deep balls. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, I think that the Eagles are who we thought they are, and the Rams showed that they can compete, they can contend, and I think the Rams are going to make a real push for a playoff spot coming down the stretch, and I we'll see. But I think I don't know. I mean, call me crazy. I don't even know what their odds are to make the playoffs, but fucking book it. As long as Stafford can stay healthy, give me Matt Stafford and Sean McVay's system with Cooper Kupp any day of the week. I know that maybe they're playing above their potential on the defensive end right now, but they just hang around with some of these tough teams, and they can make a run.
Schedule's not easy either. Schedule
No.
is not easy, and that defense is super young. There are some guys from that defense that I've like what I've seen, the growth, but it's not there as a unit right now. And Aaron Donald doesn't have much help. The Eagles. One thing I didn't mention: the Eagles did a great job of. We talked about it. Can they take Aaron Donald, make him a non-factor, and they did.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you have a great chance of exploiting that Rams defense because there's not much else there. Moving on to Sunday night game, your boys take a tough L. Um, with the final ended up being 42-10.
Yeah.
Went to bed early.
Yep.
It's 42-10. Starting out with this one, um, right off the bat, 49ers march right down the field and they get Kittle on a touchdown, one of three for the day. Um, I feel like the 49ers every single game, whatever Shanahan has drawn up for them, that first drive, they just make it look so easy and they score.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk about is I talked about momentum earlier. Another thing I'm going to talk a lot about, and as we go through these games, is how teams are, coming out the gate, what their drive looks like. I talked about the Bengals. I was really interested to see how they would look. But these great offensive minds, the Kyle Shanahan's, Sean McVay, Andy Reid, it doesn't get said enough about how good they are preparing throughout the week. That scheming up that opening drive, and they just make it seem so easy out there, and the defense just has to adjust on the fly. But right away, 49ers they established their dominance, go right down the field and score a touchdown. Defensively, they were playing a lot of man last night, being real physical with the receivers for Dallas, especially CD. CD was getting frustrated early in that game. They really did a good job of taking him out early. Just so physical, so physical. Fred Warner is so good at football. Like, he is so good at football. Fred Warner, they have two of those guys on their defense that are just like once in a generation. And they got Fred Warner, they got Nick Bosa. And there's a play late in that game where Fred Warner was running. He was running with Brandon Cooks like 40 yards down the field, staying stride for stride with him. Like, what other middle linebacker in the NFL, in the world, is staying with Brandon Cooks down the field like that? Like,
Yeah.
he is just so fast. He's all like wherever the ball is, he's there every single play, and he's a huge part of why that defense is what they are. And he's got Greenlaw helping him out too. Greenlaw's great. The secondary is physical as hell, and they were doing a great job last night taking those receivers out of the game. And then you got that front led by Bosa. So the defense you can't say enough about. Um, I did write down the fumble. There was a fumble by each team early in that game that were helping my under chances. But unfortunately, only one defense kept playing the rest of the game, and that was the Niners.
Yep.
Um, Cowboys 3-and-out after they got their fumble, and it's just like you had a little bit of juice, and then it's gone. Um, and the 49ers have a nice little razzle dazzle touchdown to Kittle to get his second, made it 14-0. Um, Next drive, Dak has a great throw to Turpin in the end zone. Um, Great ball, made it 14-7. And I was like, all right, we might have something here. Cowboys have life. And then next thing you know, 49ers drive, they go right down the field. Touchdown McCaffrey, touchdown machine.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey
Yeah.
made it 21-7. Um, Later, Kittle gets his third touchdown, making it 28-10. And then Juszczyk gets a touchdown catch, make it 35-10. And then I went to bed because I just didn't like the Cowboys offense wasn't there was just nothing there. You knew like it was a mismatch. Cowboys are a good football team, and the 49ers are just that much better. They're that much better than everybody right now. I'm not sure if you could put any team in the league out there against the 49ers last night, if any team in the league is making that a close game, because that's how good they played. That's how good that they are. That's how complete they are. And they're that complete now because they have the quarterback. Um, you've said before about Brock Purdy's accuracy, but
Last night.
what I see, what I saw last night
Good.
from Purdy, just deadly accurate,
Mm-hmm.
knows what he's doing. Um, you could talk about, well, he's got all these weapons. He's got Ayuk, he's got Debo, he's got Kittle, he's got C-Mac, he's got Shanahan scheming up for him. It's like at the end of the day, quarterback's got to go out there. He still has to process those reads. He still has to make those throws. He still has to carry that offense. And Brock Purdy's doing that for them. He's been incredible. He's in complete control of that offense. He is um, he's an upgrade over Jimmy G. That year they went to the Super Bowl. I know that. So if they can stay healthy, I don't know if there's a team in the league that's stopping the 49ers the way this train's going right now.
Yeah, everything is clicking for them. They're hitting on all cylinders. Uh, like you mentioned, I talked earlier in the year about Brock Purdy's accuracy, and that was legit. You know what I mean? Like he had guys wide open, and he was just missing them on throws that he was completing. You know, the receivers had to slow down, reach behind him, make a good catch just to make the catch, right? But last night he was, like you mentioned, incredible. The dude was hitting every throw, every third and long, third and medium. He just didn't miss. And Ayuk absolutely killed the boys last night. I don't know what his stat line he ended up finishing with. I know Kittle had all the touchdowns, but Ayuk was really he was the guy who kept breaking the Cowboys back. So, on paper, when I look at the two teams, I don't think anybody matches up with the 49ers really on paper. I mean, the Eagles obviously have a really good roster. I think the Cowboys have a really good roster as well, but they just seem to me to be outcoached. I think that McCarthy didn't didn't come with a good game plan. He didn't scheme well enough. I think Dan Quinn can do better. To me, it looked like they were dropping into zone a whole lot. I don't know if it's because they don't think that they can keep up playing man with them, which is understandable without Diggs, but at the same time, Deron Bland's no scrub. He's a good young corner, and I don't think that zone is the answer to the 49ers offense because they got, like you said, Purdy can process his reads so quickly. It doesn't matter. You have to pressure the kid, and that's another thing. The Cowboys just didn't get any pressure last night. That 49ers offensive line was really good, and Cowboys defense was just really bad. They laid an egg again. So they're sitting 3-2 now, and yeah, I just don't know. They got to come out next week, and you know we're gonna obviously keep a close eye on that game and see how they come out of the gate. But they got to get it going. You can't have that poor of an offensive performance when you have a top five offensive line in the league to go with CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, Tony Pollard, and then Jake Ferguson. I like him. You know, they played really bad last night against a team that shows they're probably the best in the NFL. So, but
by far.
but to one last takeaway is I did hit my bet on that game. I took the Niners at minus two and excuse me at minus 2.5, and I teased the over under to 52.5 and took the under. Ended up being 52. So so I did hit on my bet. So that was a pleasant surprise when I woke up this morning after I went to bed when the third quarter ended, like yourself. So yeah, that's the only positive takeaway from that game.
So one more thing, like you get a bit of a litmus test, with that. You see the Cowboys up against powerhouse like the Niners, and the Niners are what they are. Do you feel good about the Cowboys' chances in the NFC East going forward based off what you saw? And I know we haven't seen the Eagles play the 49ers yet. That's going to happen, I believe, week 12 in Philly. I think it's week 12.
Yeah.
So they will play them down the road. But based off what you see in Philly, based off what you've seen from Dallas, through 5 weeks now, what do you like, as far as their chances in the NFC East?
I don't feel great. We talked the other day on our first episode about how both of these teams, other than the 49ers playing the Rams, neither of them have been tested, right? So this was definitely the Cowboys' first real test, and they flopped. They just didn't show up. They failed miserably. Next week they got the Chargers on a Monday night game. I think that's going to be another good test. It's going to be like a test of their resiliency. See how they bounce back, because that when they lost to the Cardinals and the kind of an embarrassing loss, and then they're going to play the Patriots. You're like, all right, well, let's see how they bounce back, and then they bounce back really well, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. They got a tough 3 game stretch, and if the Cowboys have want to show and prove to themselves that they are a contender, they got to win 2 out of these next 3 games. Um, after this loss, they could lose 2 of these games. Like I said, they're going next week, Monday night against the Chargers. The only reason I feel okay about that game is because the Chargers find ways to lose. So they could come out of there with a win. I feel optimistic about that. And then they're playing at home against the Rams, a game in which we will actually be attending. We'll be in Dallas for that one. That's going to be a great game, in my opinion. And then the following week, they travel to Philadelphia. So, Chargers, Rams, Eagles. It's going to be a big test. I think after these 3 games, I'll have a little bit of a clear head about where they're at. But right now, I do not feel great. The recency bias is kicking my ass. I do not feel great about their chances in the playoffs. I mean, they're gonna make the playoffs. The Cowboys are too good to miss the playoffs, but once they get in there, you got to go through the Eagles, you got to go through the Niners, and now you have to go through the Lions. And I don't know if, at this moment right now, their offense is just bad. They haven't. Their defense is the only reason why they've looked as good as they are. Their offense has just looked bad all year since McCarthy started taking over the play calling. Schottenheimer is just a ghost. I think the dude just sits there and hides, and just he's basically still the quarterback coach. The dude doesn't call plays. Mike McCarthy's doing everything, and he's not doing great. So we'll see, though. We'll see how they are moving forward. Not super optimistic, but there's still potential.
Just to recap a little bit on Monday night is Packers at the Raiders. The Raiders are up 10-3 right now in the third quarter. What do you think? You think Vegas is going to pull it out or what?
You know, I we talked about this one before we hopped on, and neither of us really wanted anything to do with this game. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, um, even games that I don't like, that I'm not interested in, and I want to stay far away from, I just can't stay away. It's like a bad ex. It's like one of your bad ex girlfriends. You just can't stop. You can't stay away. I couldn't stay away, so I put a bet in. And you know what? Before I get to this bet, though, I wanted to say I think a semi smart bet, right? An okay bet, depending on how you feel about it. I would just parlay every week until it fails Christian McCaffrey and David Montgomery for a touchdown. Anytime touchdown, the two of them, pair them, same, parlay until it fails, right? Or individual bet it, right? I mean, either way, I think McCaffrey scored in 14 straight games. Montgomery scored every game so far this year. Just bet them until the streak stops, right? Ride the hot streak. But for this game tonight, the Raiders and the Packers. Just to tell you guys, I threw in a quick same game parlay with the profit boost through DraftKings, and it took the Raiders at plus 3.5, over 39.5, and then I took Jordan Love to throw for at least 235. So we're gonna see how it goes, but looking good. Raiders plus 3.5 is looking good right now. Jimmy G's back. Packers have beaten the Raiders 8 straight matchups dating back to 1990. I keep saying it all day. Take that stat for what it is, or do with it what you will. But it's a thing. They beat them 8 straight. So let's see if the Raiders can snap the streak. And we're already in the second half. Ugh.
Yeah, Jordan Love's only got 56 yards passing right
Yeah,
now.
that's not looking good. Neither is the over. But second half usually flips the script. So yeah, stay tuned with that one, I guess.
Either way, it wasn't a big juicy bet,
No,
and if you did pay attention to our big juicy bets, they were quite
they were
juicy.
spot on.
So, speaking of those, we will be back on Friday with our big juicy bets with our Week 6 NFL preview. We will also recap the Thursday night game, um, and we'll also have a daily rant for you. So, like and subscribe on our YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. And stay tuned because Spotify is on the way.
Yeah.
Tyler, you got anything else for the people?
Yeah, eventually we're gonna get some edits in there. We're gonna have some visuals that we can add eventually for you guys. Just getting around to having the time to do that. Um, but yeah, that's it. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. If you don't take any of our advice, at least take the big juicy bet advice, right? Like they're juicy for a reason. Realistically, they're not going to hit every time, but majority is what we're looking for. If you stay consistent, majority is what you're looking for, and I'm very confident that we're going to lay out some juicy bets week to week to week. So stay tuned. Friday, we'll be back at it. Probably post it Saturday. Um, yeah, but that's it. Thank you everyone for listening. And
Yeah. Thank you very much.
don't
We will see you later on the week.
yeah.
Goodbye.